Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I have a little project for you. I'm getting ready for the upcoming convention for Stampin' Up! In November. I know it seems impossible that November could be next month already. And so I have designed my 3D swaps and I thought I would share them with you today. Take a little break from the Christmas cards and show you what I've come up with. So let's just get started. Okay, here is my project. I've taken these little notebooks. I purchased these at Office Depot and they come in a package of 6. And they're 3 inches by 5 inches, and I thought that would make a really good size little notepad to have like next to where you answer the phone or even in your purse. And they're substantial enough, I think, to last for a little while. And so what I am using is the backing from the paper, or it's almost chipboard, not quite, that comes on your designer series paper. And you might recognize these little pieces. And what I do is, these are 3 inches, so I cut these at 3 1/4 by 10 1/2, and then they're scored at 5 1/8 and 5 3/8. And you'll notice this one has quite a bit of printing on it, and that's fine because we're going to cover, you want to, when you have the printing on there, you want that to be on the outside because that's going to get covered by the pretty paper. And in this case, I'm using the Magnolia paper, and the stamp set that I'm using for this is Butterfly Gala. And I'm using a little note, and I'm using this butterfly here. And what I've done is that comes attached to this little butterfly, and I've cut mine loose. So my butterfly is separate, and I can always put those back together on a bigger block if I ever need to. So a little note, and then this butterfly here from Butterfly Gala. Okay, so let me just show you. So the first thing you need is one of these cut 10 1/2 by 3 1/4, and then my designer series paper then, which is going to go on top of that, also needs to be cut to 10 1/2 by 3 1/4, and I'm going to say plus a tiny smidge on the 10 1/2, 10 1/2, and just a generous 10 1/2, because as the layers get bigger going around the card, the next layer has to be ever so slightly bigger to go around again. So on this piece, cutting it 10 1/2 plus, like I said, just a hair, and by 3 1/4, because we want to make sure that it covers all of the front of this. So like in this case or this case, it covers up all of that printing. But they're very simple little projects to put together. Then I used the largest of the oval, stitched shaped ovals, and I cut out an oval, and that's what I am using here on the front to put my butterfly and little note and some ribbon here. So let's just get started here and I'll show you what I did. Okay, so here is my piece of what I'm calling this chipboard, and my paper here, and you'll see that my paper is cut just right a tiny little bit past this one, and that's because it has to go over the top of it. Okay, so the other thing we have to do is cut a little piece of paper that is, this one ended up being, once I cut 3 of these from the full sheet, I ended up with a strip along the edge, and it happens to be 2 1/4 inches long here, and it works perfectly. Since this is 3 inches across, if I cut that off at 3 inches, it makes the perfect cover for the top of the little notebook here so we can hide the Office Depot name. And what I did was I scored this piece at 3/4 of an inch because this little red tupper is right at 3/4 of an inch. So what I'm going to do is put my glue right on here first. Then I'm going to set this down on top of this and get that adjusted just right so that none of that red is showing on either side or at the bottom, and then wrapping this around the back. Now I'm going to add my glue on the back of my paper here and right along the center point of the top of that little notebook. And I'm going to pull this up and fold it over and get it put on the back of my notebook here. And there we go. Now that piece is covered. The next thing I'm going to do is I've already started scoring one of these cardboard pieces. Scored my cardboard piece, and now I'm going to put my Tombow glue on the back side of my notebook and get my glue. It's important to catch the edges particularly and the corners, and then plenty in the middle to make sure that my notebook stays put. So there we go. And then I'm going to use to put this in place on my cardboard, and I want to put it just under the fold of that score line there at the top, and kind of wiggle that into place so it sits on my platform nice and square. And I'm going to bring this up so you can see. So I've got a little bit of an edge on this side, and a very small lip on the bottom here, so that the notebook sits completely inside this piece. And I am not going to glue the top or the flap. I'm going to leave those unglued, and this should have still enough of a lip on it that it's easy to open and get to the notebook. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is put on our paper. And I am going to start by putting my glue on this front here. And again, paying attention to the edges and the corners, and then getting plenty of glue in the center here as well. And I'm going to do this one piece at a time, and you can see the advantage in using the Tombow, the liquid glue, because this is a big surface, and to get this on exactly right, you're going to have to manipulate it around a little bit, and we're going to want to have that come right up to that fold line, and make sure this covers that notebook page all the way around. Then on the back side here, I am going to put my glue on the top and around this piece. Again, here we want to make sure we get our edges and our corners here. And then I'm going to pick this up and pull it across here and down to the back edge. And that smidge, we cut that, this paper, 10.5 plus a tiny smidge, allows this to fit perfectly on here because it's got a little wider place to go around than the first piece did. And so every time it has to make a new turn, you need it to be a tiny bit longer. So there we go. I've got my notebook covered and the inside piece covered, and we've got the makings of our little notebook here. Now I'm going to take my oval and take my Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I'm going to tuck my butterfly right down here on the bottom. This butterfly is shaped perfectly to fit in the bottom of this oval. And there we go. I've got my butterfly, and then I've got my little note, and I'm going to stamp that just above the butterfly wings. There we go. A little note. It looks like my note came out a little darker than the little. So I've got my marker pen here. And I'm just going to write over the word little. So this one might be a good one to do in the Stamparatus so that you can make sure you get it exactly the way you want it. I think that's going to work just fine for me. All right, so I'm going to set that aside, let that just dry a second. And the next thing we're going to do is get ready our ribbon. So what I have here is this scalloped edge ribbon that's in the holiday catalog. It's a kind of a cotton ribbon, and it's just basic black. And I'm going to go ahead and tie my bow to put on the front of my project. And I want kind of a small bow, and pull this one tight here like this. And there I've got my bow, and I'm going to use my ribbon scissors here and cut that off on both sides. There we go. And I'm going to attach that. This should be dry now. The other thing that I used was this Organdy ribbon, Organdy striped ribbon. Isn't that gorgeous? In the Petal pink, because that matches the paper. And you can do this with any paper. You'll just have to change out your ribbons and your bow to make it do what you want. So that is going to be sufficient to go around that. And let me tell you, that one is for about 4.5. And this little oval is the largest in the stitch-shaped ovals. So let me move these things out of the way. And what I'm going to do is to put a little bit of snail adhesive on the back of the top of my oval here, and set my ribbon down and wrap it just around the edges of the oval to get it to come across. There we go. And that's all we need. Now I am going to use a glue dot on the inside of this to hold my ribbon tight, and it won't show because I'm going to put my bow right on top of it. So I'm going to put a glue dot there. That'll help secure that in place. Then I'm going to add another glue dot to the back of my ribbon, and this bow is so substantial you don't need any more. Put that across here, and there is my bow. Looks like this one needs to be trimmed just a little. There we go. All right. All right, that's about ready to go. Now the other embellishment I used on these, and I used different ones on the 2 notebooks that I have completed so far. Oops, that ribbon came loose a little bit. Maybe it needs another glue dot. So there. So on the fronts of these, I used 2 different of these Petal Pink Rhinestone gems. I just love these. Love finding an excuse to use them. And they're just the perfect color for the front of this. And I used a diamond on this one and this little rectangle on this one. So maybe I'll use one of these big, what is that, six-sided, so six, I can't think of what the word is, six-sided gem here on the center of my card there above the butterfly. And then I raised this on dimensionals. And we just need to put this in place, and you can see it's, especially if you do this in an assembly line process, you can go through these and get a ton of these done in a hurry. So hovering that over to set it down right where I want it, and there we go. Cute little project. Now, this project could easily be used at the holidays. I always make a little something for, oh, the gal that cuts my hair and the lady that does my nails and other assorted people in my life that I like to give just a little something to at Christmas time. And this is a perfect project. Also, I think this is a good project for holiday craft fairs, because even a child with a few dollars could probably afford this for his mother for Christmas, or his sister or aunts or whatever. And so I think this makes a lovely little project for all different kinds of occasions. So that's the project for today. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and would like to order some of these products from me, I'd be thrilled. And I'd love to be your demonstrator. And I'd also love the opportunity to have you join my team. The details on some of this is always listed below the video, along with my phone number. Please feel free to call me. I love talking to people, and I'd love to chat with you about what it takes to be a demonstrator. If you joined now, this is October, you wouldn't have to complete your first minimum until the end of March. Joining now gets you through all of Sale-a-bration, so it's a wonderful time to join. $125 worth of product for $99. In any case, that's it for me. Let's see, my prize draw for the month is a bundle out of the holiday catalog, and you can be in the drawing by putting any kind of an order on my website, lbedinger.stampinup.net. You can get to it through my blog, www.ingenuity.com. So again, thanks for stopping by and joining me, and I'll see you soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye!